everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're taking a look at a space game, Last Light. So, caveat here, this is word Dice Tower. Roy Candidate, designer for Last Light, works for Dice Tower.
Who?
Yeah.
He's the guy in the desk behind you.
Oh, Candidate.
So there's going to be a lot of people who says we can't properly review a game with that in mind. And that's probably true to some degree.
And those same people would say, why didn't you review this game?
There's no winning there. So we're just going to review the game and talk about our thoughts on it as best as we can. But keep that in mind. That's just how par for the course. Last Light is a 4X game. When Roy first told me about it, he told me it was a 4X game that played in less than 90 minutes or 2 hours. And I didn't believe that at all because I disbelieve anybody who tells me that. And it's been said dozens and dozens of times.
Right, yeah.
I agree.
But this one's with cards, or this one's with what? You know, there's always a little twist to it. And this one is more so actually troops on a map, kind of a, ships in space going and fighting planets.
Right.
Let me show you a little bit about how this plays, but before I do, realize that the version I'm showing you is both the very deluxe version, because we put the nicest stuff of these games in our library. It's a deluxe version, and it has some of the expansion and Kickstarter stuff thrown in. But we're here to talk about how the game plays. Let's take a look. In this game, each player is going to have an alien, and these aliens are going to give you a special power. Like, for example, this guy here, whenever he does the move action, the command action, he always goes last, or they always go last. After rolling dice, you can pay a common resource to add a special ability to your dice roll. And so there's all sorts of different aliens in the game with interesting artwork for each of them. Players are also going to get some extractors, a colony ship, small, medium, and large ships, and the miniatures are different for the different colors. You also will get a set of these achievement cards, and you're going to pick one of them at the beginning of the game. But most importantly, besides you get this little graveyard, you get these cards here, these action cards, 1 through 6, and the whole game is based around these. Well, I guess technically the whole game is based around these. This is light. And you are trying to get 20 light. That's going to end the game, and whoever has the most light is the winner. Taking a look at the board, so this shows you how to set the board up, and there's going to be different setups for a number of players. If you get the expansion, you can have more than 4 added to the setup. Players are going to put this in a corner. In this game, there will be 1 in each corner. And then the game's going to begin. I want to mention this rotating board because this is a big part of the game. Even though yellow is going to sit across from whatever color sits over here, the board's going to rotate whenever players all play their refresh cards, and so things are going to change and kind of divvy up as the game goes by. Each round of the game, players are all going to simultaneously pick one of their action cards and play it, and then reveal them. Now, one of the cards that you have is going to bring all your cards back in your hand. That's the refresh. So until you play that card, you have to leave your cards in front of you. When you play your refresh card, you're going to leave that in front of you until every player has played the refresh card, at which point the board's going to rotate. People are going to get light for their ships that they have in the middle of the board, and then you will pick up your refresh cards and keep going. So when the cards are played, they're numbered, so all the number 1 cards will go off first, all the number 2s, and so on. Most of the cards can be played simultaneously. The research card allows you to research different technologies. Each player has a board in front of them, and the board corresponds to your small, medium, and large ships. So when you play technologies, there's 3 kinds of technologies that you can have. Some technologies are only going to affect one ship, like this warp drive here. I would put directly above the small ship if that's what I wanted that technology to affect. These ship technologies, these ship ability technologies, are going to go off whenever a player rolls a certain symbol in combat. Other abilities are ship mod abilities, and these will always go off. So you can put, for example, this solar dish here, you'll stick it under here, and now my small ship has a ship mod here that allows me, when I harvest light from the white dwarf star, I get an extra light. And the small ships can have 1 of these, mediums can have 2, and the large can have 3. You'll also notice there's cost for the ships here. It talks about how far they can move, how many hit points it takes to kill them, and whether they can bombard planets. But the technology one is going to let you play these different technology cards on here. You even have civilization text that you'll just put in front of you, like this once per refresh, I can exhaust this to gain a light. All the technology cards have costs, and whenever you play a technology, the research card, you'll get a light if for every 4 that technology card you have in play. The mine technology card is going to give you resources for having your extractors. You can have up to 3 extractors on your mobile base here, but as you discover planets, you'll be able to put extractors on these planets, and you'll discover what that extractor will give you. It's going to either be some sort of combination of common, uncommon, and rare resources that you will find. So mining simply gives you one of these resources for each extractor that you have out there. And then right on top of that, on your colony ship here, the construct will allow you to pay the resources, which I showed you already, to build more ships here. And you can build extractors on a planet that you have annexed or on your colony ship. So you'll have a chance to put out more extractors as you move along. Trading is another way to get resources. You get to do 2 things on this card. Take a common or trade 2 commons for an uncommon, 2 uncommons for a rare, 2 rares for a light, and then you pick an opponent to get a common. Then we jump to command. Command lets everyone, command is the only one that matters for turn order, and there is a turn order marker that get passed around to see who goes first. You'll move your ships if after the end of a round, ships of 2 players in the same spot, you have a combat. Combat is going to have a certain amount of dice rolled for each player, depending on what ships. Most of the time, the small ships get 1 die, the large ships get 3, but different techs can give you more dice. If you roll these sides, you hit your opponent. If you roll this, you can activate your special abilities. Here you can do both. And then there is a side on here where when you roll it, this one here, you will get a hit and then you get to roll again. So you can keep going on and on and on. Most ships, the small ships are killed in 1 shot. The other ones are killed in 2 or 3, the medium and larges, and you'll keep track of the damage here. Refreshing is something we've already mentioned, and this will unexhaust all your cards. This will heal all your ships, and it gives you your action cards back. You then, for each planet that you control with the extractors on them, if it's in the outer ring, it's 1 light, and it's 2 for the inner ring. There are a few other rules as you move your ships around. There's these outer space tokens, which will give you some sort of benefit. When you discover a planet, it usually gives you a resource. So some planets, for example, this planet here, when you land on it, gives you something, and then you can put an extractor on it to get a common resource. So the different planets are going to give you various effects, and once everyone has played their exhaust or their refresh card, then the middle board turns 90 degrees and the outer board turns 60 degrees. And that's it, which is going to change where everything is. Also, on all the refresh cards, for each ship you have in the middle, you're going to get a light, so controlling the middle planet can get you a lot of points. You're going to keep doing this over and over and over again until someone gets 20 light, which triggers the end of the game, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Okay, so there's a few other things. Light is the whole focal point of the game. There's different ways that you're getting light. You're getting it from tech. I didn't mention that you can, if you have, every time you kill an enemy ship in combat, you put it on this little graveyard card. You can take off 4 of them to get a light point, although your opponent can, when they build ships, just pay you the resources and build them right off that card. There's other ways to get points, some of the special abilities and such, or to get light. But that's kind of the gist. There's, like I said, there's a lot of things going on in this game, and it's kind of funny because when I was setting this up and tearing it down, I thought, I think setup is longer than teaching the game.
Really?
Yes.
Teaching the game is not very difficult. I mean, once people understand, I mean, it's one of my favorite mechanisms, the whole put a card down and then pick them up. I love that in any game, from Concordia to, you know, whatever.
Century Spice Road does it. Yeah, absolutely.
That and those cards aren't very hard. I mean, some are trickier than others, and the methodology of the way the refresh cards come out is not been done before.
Yeah, that part's fresh to me. I like that. You know, the
refresh is
cards.
fresh. Got it.
Yeah, that's fair, right? It's sitting out there. The only thing I tell people, this is a small hiccup, is like, it's better for everyone at the table when you play the refresh card, set it off to the side when you kind of stack up the other cards.
So you don't pull it back.
So you don't pull it back, and so that it's easier for everyone to see.
Right.
Because once that last one is out there, everything starts changing. That's the end of a round, so to speak.
And that's one thing you can miss as you're going around. You're like, oh, we should have refreshed, or oh, we can't yet. Oh, because you haven't done yours.
Oh,
So-
I'm always asking because I want to know when we're refreshing.
and that is true.
But this will lead me into a small negative here about production. So, like I said, we showed you the nice production and those planets, and I think the art is fine and all that stuff. I'm not thrilled with the iconography. Not that I think the iconography is bad, but it's all white. And so when you roll a die, it's white. Yes, one's a square and one's a circle and one's a circle with some thing. It's not particularly easy. And the symbols, you flip over a tile and it's a white symbol. And I know the game and I can do. I'm like, which one is that one again? And even light is white. And I think that's thematic maybe for the game. I just found it to be a little bit confusing.
Yeah, I think the place I agree with you the most on that is those exploration tiles. You
Right.
flip them over, someone says, awesome, I get a free tech card. And you're like, wait, no, that one's actually, because they're a little bit similar
Those
too.
are close together.
Yeah, and I think I might have even said the wrong one when I flipped the card over in the overview for that same reason.
And I have seen people be a little bit confused because as you flip over a planetary exploration tile, there's that gray sliver on the side. That's the instant thing
Yes.
versus the main resource that you mine over and over again. Some people get those confused. Some people think it's both each time. Like those are those little graphical things that have been small hang-ups every time that I've played this game.
Yeah, and I also, that little half disc that fits on the planet, and again, this is a deluxe problem, I think.
Right.
I just find that to be a little fiddly on how those fit on
it
and come
slides
off.
off and
what's-
comes back on.
What
Yeah.
exactly am I on? The planets are crazy cool.
Really nice.
I love the planets. And like I said, I like the aliens, and I really like the board that you put techs on. And I should say I'm a big fan of the tech in this game. Because
Same
you can
here.
get tech turn one. Like you have like one generic resource. You can draw those cards and hope that you get, you draw 3 when you play tech and keep 2. You hope you get a generic one. Or you can
Right.
mine on turn 1 and then do tech on turn 2. I mean, you don't have to sit around and there's a lot of games with tech. I'm like, someday I will have
Yeah.
that tech. In this one, you can get it right away. You pick your ships. There's a
upgrade
tech
quick.
card that lets you copy one of your other ships or both your other ships. I like tech in almost any game. I like how smooth it is in this one.
Now this one, I'm going into the game itself. It's the same as any 4X game. You'll need to know who you're playing with. People can take it easy, because you will be attacking some. Now all that being said, I think it feels more like a race than a combat game because it's all about just getting that light as quick as you can. That really, I like the tech cards really, because the engine building on the slow roll towards the end, some people are getting 3 to 4 to 5 light each turn, and because of those tech upgrades.
I mean, you said like earlier, tech itself can lead to light. Once
Right.
you have 4 or 8 of it, you're earning 1 or 2, and it's going to be what really diversifies you in this game.
Right.
I like that there's starting different aliens, but functionally, each alien is almost like one starting piece of tech. They're not,
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it is, right? It's a piece of tech.
yeah, they're not hugely different, but I think that works because within a turn, you can then do the tech action and then be different from each other, and it continues to get more different there. That being said, one of the things that is a potential hang-up for people, especially at the higher player counts, you can play this with its expansion up to 8 people, is it's going to be harder to track what tech everybody else has. I do feel like that is just kind of a staple of this genre, the 4X space game. When you play Twilight Imperium, sometimes I go into battle with someone and I'm like, you can do what now?
And that is true. And that also is born from the simultaneous actions because you're so focused, because as much as it keeps the game flowing, it also, you're not looking at everyone else as much as you're looking at you.
Now, the 4X thing, and this is going to be talked about a lot, some people tell me, they're like, it actually feels like a Euro game. And I don't know what Euro games they're playing. It doesn't at all to me. But, I mean, a 4X game is almost impossible to make the 4Xs. Explore, exterminate, expand, and exploit. Here you're definitely exploiting. You're getting the resource off the things. You're exploring a bit by finding this up. Exterminating, yeah, you're kicking people out. And then the other one, which
Expand?
is expand. That's the one you're doing the least of. There's a little bit of controlling planets because you need to.
Right.
But there's this constant back and forth. I'll take the planet, you take the planet. That being said, people like, is it like Twilight Imperium or Eclipse? It's not really like them. It's definitely a shorter version. I want to be very clear on that. This game is advertised as being
60 to 90 minutes, and it's 100% accurate.
I agree with that.
Straight up.
Yes.
The game rolls pretty quickly. Some people might not want that because they want the longer experience. I'm very happy with that. I think the speed is great. My only small thing about the gameplay is, and it's not even a criticism against this box. It's a criticism against the expansion, because you just mentioned it, like keeping track of everything. I love keeping track of at least what's going on. And for me, Last Light is great at 4. With more than that, it still works. I just can't keep track of everything, and I kind of can just almost like sit back, sip my drink, and watch the chaos. Because there's so many people doing so many different things, and you can play as simultaneously, and I'm like, cool, hope that side board's doing great. Ooh, wow, here comes the blue fleet, wasn't expecting them. Let's do it, you know. And it doesn't bother me as much, but it feels more strategic with 4, because I definitely can keep an eye on my 3 neighbors. You have to. 5 is probably fine, you know.
5, 6. I enjoyed 6-player game recently. My first play of it, and I want to make something clear here, my first play of this was years ago, before I was an employee of the Dice Tower, on Tabletop Simulator. Right, I played with one of the early online games with Roy during like a Gen Con online or something. 8 people, first time playing. I had a hard time tracking what everyone was doing, but with 8, I think that you don't even try to track it.
No, you just give up to the chaos, like you said.
Yeah. If I'm looking at someone, I might say, let me get a quick look at your tech cards. Oh, I'm not going to attack you. You know what I mean? And there is enough of that. But I do also want to say that one of the things that people probably ask, that rotating board, is that just a gimmick? And I think that it actually functions very well. Curious what you're about to say.
No, I was going to say that too. I was talking about the 4X, but before I go to that right there, it's funny how that rotating board confused me more at first than I thought it would, because I thought I had the spatial awareness to know, okay, I'm going to be here. But when everything rotates, you're like, huh, getting help over there is going to be much more difficult now, because that simple rotating of the board, you're like, you just tell your ships, you know what? You're on your own. You know, you gotta, and there's so much pivoting that comes when you realize that you're a universe away from people that need help. So that right there. Now, you mentioned the 4X games, which can be compared to Eclipse, TI, and even like Heroes, Land, Air, and Sea for a different thing. It does not have the epic feel of those, because I think that epic feel is born into that 4 to 5 hours, you know? That being said, though, this is that 4X game, and it will hit the table much more when you look at the fact that you can play this 3 or 4 times when in the time you can play one of those. And that right there is a reason to... Those bigger epic games are great, right? But there's really only a reason for one person in your gaming group to own it, because there's limited people you're going to play with. This right here can hit the table a lot more because of that short playtime.
I'm going to say that this game, kind of in its genre, doesn't have a lot of peers.
No.
You're right. There's a lot of the big ones out there.
Right.
And then there's ones that are smaller, but those smaller ones, when I play them, are almost always some sort of abstract little exercise, area control type things. This brings the mechanisms alike. It has tech. It has rolling dice for combat. It has that play cards mechanism. Those 3 things, I mean, exploding dice, where you get to roll dice again, is one of my favorite things in a game. Playing the cards and picking them up is one of my favorite things. And quick, snappy turns, which I always talk about.
So nice. QST.
It is super high in this game. I mean, yes, there's like, okay, who has command? Move your ships.
Right.
Move your ships. Is there combat? Combats are fast. Go to the next turn. And I'm mind blown. I played this game without Roy. When you play with Roy, he can teach the whole game. Played without Roy. Went through the rules again to remind myself how I played. Taught the whole game. Played the whole game, and it was like 70 minutes. That's crazy to me.
It's insane.
I mean, I'm not including the setup. The setup was another 10 minutes and tear down, you know, whatever. But the gameplay itself was that fast. And I didn't feel like I didn't do anything either. I expanded. I grew. My little ships were as powerful as someone else's big ships. I don't know. And then the next game I'll be like, this time I'm going to just expand as fast as I can. I don't know. There's just...
Right, I'm going to go for a bigger planetary achievement. At the beginning, you set what planet color you're going to try to go for. Might not get it, but you could probably win in different ways. And you pivot a lot with the tech that you get in this game.
Yes.
And I tend to enjoy that in games. Speaking of, to your point, you feel like you accomplish a lot. It's because you're playing only for an hour, but you're the active player for almost that entire hour, that entire 70 minutes. in a game like Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, you're going to sit back quite a bit more and just kind of watch other combats happen, watch other people take their turns. I'm pretty much always, as soon as I'm done doing the stuff I am doing for the turn, I need to start looking at my hand of cards again and say, what is next? Because I'm going to be up again in a matter of 10 seconds, usually.
It's funny you say that because it's almost like if you had to pick one word for this game, wouldn't be light for me, it would be pivot. Because there's so many times to pivot on the rotating board, number one. Number two, you see someone get so much benefits from us when the refresh action happens, you're like, we can't do that again. I can't afford for you to be able to get that light. So, or they're too close to the sun and all this. So there's so many times that you have to pivot due to your tech cards, the rotations, or whatever. It really is a moving target as far as getting that light. And I like that type of dynamic in this.
Well, Last Pivot sounds like a dance
Last
game.
Pivot should have been the name of this.
All right. Well, what's your rating?
So, here's the thing. I'm going to come in very high on this game. I want to remind people about the caveat we gave at the beginning, right? Roy is someone I consider a very close personal friend, so keep that in mind. But I think that we've discussed mechanically, production-wise, all the things that we enjoy about this game well enough. I'm giving this one a 9. I really enjoy it. It's kind of in the same category for me. If I were to compare it to something else game-wise that I enjoy, it's kind of like Kemet. I think that Kemet is fast-paced. It's quick. It's all about those technologies, and it has a lot of good. You joked. Some people said it feels like a Euro game. That's because the mechanical underpinnings of it are very solidly established. The card row system, the making wise choices before you have to go into combat and everything. It's all there, and it's fun and it's fast. And you're constantly, because of that rotating board, in other spaces that you wouldn't normally be in. It kind of reminds me of Kemet when someone warps into an area of the board and you go, whoa, okay, things are different now all of a sudden. I think my biggest drawback of this game might be that it is hard, speaking of pivot, it's hard when someone starts pulling ahead to know how to respond to that. There might be someone who starts getting a good early lead. Play a second game, right? Because if the players at the table don't know how to interactively go fight that person, blockade their planets, prevent them from getting light, you might not be able to do it, and the yellow player over there should be doing it, but they're kind of doing their own thing. Someone could reach that 20 light very quickly. But, as you said, set it up again, play it again, or play it another time so you can start figuring those interaction points out. They're not as obvious as, you have a lot of troops, let's destroy them. So I love the engine that gets built in this one. I love the text. I love so much about it. So it's one that I'm going to be teaching to people, and I have a lot of fun teaching to people because of how simple it is. Most of the rules are on the cards. Once you teach those cards, you're pretty much set to go. This is the kind of interactive fighting game that I tend to enjoy a lot. So it's a 9 for me.
I'm a big fan of it too. I'm close. I'm an 8.5. I really enjoy it. Your comparisons to Kemet are working for me because Kemet has that same, you're close to everyone on the board. If you're not close, you can easily be close. That's how this is. I'm not going to say Last Light replaces any other game because I don't think any other game is doing what it does. Right. This is kind of what I've been wanting for a while. I like this because if someone... There are games that are like Twilight Imperium and Star Trek Ascendancy or these other games, and I enjoy playing them. But if you ask me to play it, I'll go, I don't know if I got the time for that. And then also someone pulls, if you have a bad game, you're like, oh, well, I'm kind of out of it. But the good news is I get to sit here for the next 3 hours and watch to see who does win. Here, if someone pulls ahead, and I've seen it happen in Last Light, I'm like, well, we're almost done anyway. We're in the last 10, 15 minutes of the game. Joey's pulling, okay, let me use a realistic example. Chris is pulling ahead. I'm like, oh, well, we can't catch him. Okay, but it was a fun game. It was short, and I had a great time. And other than when someone else is in a combat, I am playing like 95% of the game. So I'm great with that.
Right. And I agree with that, too, especially the fact that if someone else is going to win, then you just want to just beat your neighbor or whatever, So I agree.
Small goals, Joey.
Small goals. See, that's all I care. I want to beat one person in the game. And with 8 people, it's a good chance. But now... You compare this to the epic games like TI, things like that. Those are experience games. And probably like TI, I played it a couple times. Probably won't play it again for a long time. This one gives the same type of feeling. I do And now, Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea is up there in my top 20 games. I love this style of game, but this is going to hit the table a lot more because most of those games take an hour to teach. You could be done playing this in an hour, the time it takes to teach some of those. So I'm coming in at a 9. I do like this game a lot. And again, it has the table presence that you want in a game. I mean, just when you have all those planets out and you have that one moment where everything turns, it's funny to see those first time people go, or the ones that didn't quite realize you're turning that much. I've had people say, whoa, stop. No, you got to turn to that arrow. We're like, whoa, come on. And you told them.
Stop. Okay, you know what? You're right. We won't move this.
Stop the universe.
Because you told them, but then when you actually turn it, you realize, whew, it's a lot further away than I thought it was going to be. So there's a lot of fun moments in this game. And like you said, it may have a runaway, somebody's run away with it. But by that time, you're 10 to 20 minutes until the end. So you can just reset it and run it back. And that's what I really like about this game.
There you go, folks. Last Light. The universe has light. You need to collect it, and you do so by spacing stuff.
And pivoting.
That was my explanation of the theme.
Well done.
good.
I'm proud of
It's on
you.
the
I'm
back of the
very
box.
good at that. Roy does it better than that. Anyway, that's Last Light. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Chris Yee.
We'll see you. We'll leave the light on for you.
Aw.